Hi, I'm Kelly Swindell with the Western Piedmont Symphony, and I'm talking with my dear friend Laura Dangerfield Stevens, our principal flutist, who will be soloing on March 11th, 2023, with the Western Piedmont Symphony. And we're just going to talk a little bit about some like flute stuff. Hi, Laura.
Hi, Kelly.
Is it a flute or a flout?
It's a flute. I used to joke that you're a flautist if you get paid for it, and you're a flutist if you don't. I just play the flute.
But where did flout come from? Do you even know?
European, like la flauta.
La flauta. Okay, valid now.
Yeah.
See, I've learned something new here,
La
people.
flauta.
Are women better flutists than men?
Oh, people always say only girls play the flute, but that's actually historically inaccurate. Usually it was only men that could play the flute, and if you were a woman playing the flute, that was just kind of like a little side hobby. It wasn't appropriate back in the day. And it really wasn't until 1952 that we got our first female flute player in an orchestra, Dorio Anthony Dwyer. And it wasn't until 1952.
That's
so
crazy.
Actually, the fact that women are playing flute is kind of a newish thing, but anyone can play the flute. And traditionally, it's been men who have been the first and foremost successful people.
Sorry to interrupt. What made you pick up the flute?
Well, ironically, because I thought only girls played flutes.
Okay.
So in 6th grade, they were like, "What instrument do you want to play?" And I was like, "I don't know. What instrument do girls play?" Which was a completely uneducated thing to say, but that's the only reason why I picked it. Because I really wanted to play percussion, but everyone wanted to play percussion.
So this was like a middle school band
Middle
thing?
school, 6th
okay,
grade.
6th grade.
Yeah.
And so did you do like marching band and then wind ensemble in school?
In high school, I did a couple years of marching band, and did wind ensemble, did youth orchestra. Yeah, did all the private lessons.
So what made you kind of realize that this is a career for you as a musician and an educator?
There was one point when I was I think it was in 8th grade or maybe 9th grade, where I was practicing, and as a kid with undiagnosed ADHD, that made sense in my brain. There was a click, and I was like, wow, I can do this thing, and all of the pieces are put together in my brain, and so that kind of kept me attracted to music. And when I was writing my college essays to get into colleges, what's your plan? What do you want to do with your life? I was like, well, I want to play in an orchestra, I want to teach flute at a university, and I want to have a family. And so I don't know why I said that. It's just, I honestly think that was the thing that clicked with my brain, was music.
So, pardon me, I'm looking at my notes here, people. So where do you end up going to school for your undergrad and your graduate, and then where are you able to live, marry, have children, and teach?
Yeah, so I went to Salem College School of Music in Winston-Salem, which is a women's college, and it's not your probably normal choice for someone who's seeking a flute performance degree, but Debbie Pavetta taught there, and I visited there, and it just seemed like such a cool place. I had no idea what women's colleges were or what they represented, and then boy am I glad that I went there, because what an amazing opportunity to learn about being a woman and being successful as a woman. So it was a bizarre choice in a way, but such an amazing opportunity that I got to do that. And then I took a year off and auditioned for the Western Piedmont Symphony 20 years ago.
Wow, happy anniversary, 20 years, that's amazing.
I know, 20 years ago this season. And then I went to the North Carolina School of the Arts for my master's degree. I met my husband, Bill Stevens, who was studying composition there at the time. And
Go Pickles.
Go Fighting Pickles.
Go Fighting Pickles.
And we got married. I did my doctorate at UNC Greensboro and had a couple kids. And I've taught at different universities. I first started teaching at Lenoir-Rhyne University and High Point University, and now I'm currently teaching at UNC Chapel Hill, and I also teach music theory to high school kids at the North Carolina School of the Arts.
Yes, that's amazing to hear that you're able to have a working career here in North Carolina. A lot of people think, oh, you have to be in the big city to make it in the performing arts. So what was it about staying here in the Piedmont and in North Carolina that worked for you? Was it because of lifestyle and choices?
Yeah, as a musician, you're an entrepreneur. First and foremost, you are your business. And so, having gone to college at Salem College and studying with Debbie Pavetta and being in a very small unit, she gave me lots of opportunities. And so from the time I started playing music in Winston-Salem at Salem College, I was automatically in the scene.
Mm-hmm.
And so it takes a lot of effort and a lot of time and a lot of networking to build up a network and to be able to get work as a musician. And so really it was just because I had stayed in the area for schooling that I was had built up a professional career.
I know a lot of musicians here in North Carolina, such as who we hire and work with at Western Piedmont Symphony, play in other orchestras across the state, and it's a very fruitful place to be where you can live, work, teach, have a family, and then see the rest of the state a little bit. I know you commute about an hour when you come work with us in Hickory. I've known other musicians that will go across the state. So I think we're very fortunate in our state versus you have to stay in one city and that's who you work with. But you do get to work with a bunch of different professional orchestras, different music directors and conductors, and different ensembles. Where else do you regularly perform besides being principal flute at Western Piedmont Symphony?
Yeah, so I also play in the Salisbury Symphony. I also started that when I was at Salem College. I was just filling in as a piccolo player, and then over time they needed someone to play in that orchestra more often, and so I auditioned there as well. And I've probably been there technically for 22 years, but about the same amount as Western Piedmont Symphony. And then I'm a substitute flute player for other orchestras throughout North Carolina, should they arise. But 2 contracted orchestras.
Well, we are lucky to have you with us. Full disclosure, I have known this young lady for almost as long as you've been with Western Piedmont Symphony. We were in graduate school together, so it's wonderful to kind of come full circle as working professionals, working in the performing arts, and then you're as an educator and a performer, and me as a arts leader. That it's great.
We did it.
We did it to kind of come full circle with this, and to be able to do it here and not have to feel like we have to do it somewhere else. Yeah. I'm a native North Carolinian. I know you grew up in Virginia, but you've been here. You might as well be a North Carolinian. So we're in a fortunate state where we can do these things. Yeah. Tell me a little bit about the Orchestral Suite No. 2, the Bach, that you will be performing with us on March 11th.
Yeah, so this piece is meant, it kind of feels more like chamber music in a way. In fact, that's researchers, musicologists debate whether it is chamber music or if it's meant for a smaller orchestra. But this was a piece that starts with an overture. It's in a French style overture. And it's very contrapuntal and fugal with the flute and the strings. Like I said, it's very much chamber music as opposed to, big solo flute player. And then it's a collection of dances after that, which is what a suite is. It's a collection of dances, and generally they're kind of French dances. A minuet, the sarabande, a slower sarabande, which is French.
A gavotte.
A gavotte, yes. And so it makes it very fun to play because there is, I think, an innate sense to move, while you're playing. It's been meant to dance. If we think of King Louis XIV and his court, these were the types of dances that could have been performed or in that style. And
so did Bach specifically write this for flute, or was it just an instrument of choice to highlight in the composition?
It is, oh, that's a good question. It's called an orchestral suite.
Right.
But it is interesting that it is spotlighting the flute. And so in some of the later dances, like the Polonaise and the Badinnerie, then the flute actually does sound more virtuosic on the last two.
Okay.
The last two dance movements of the entire piece.
Now, I understand when our music director, Matthew Troy, programmed the Bach Overture, and then, the Orchestral Suite, along with Mahler's Fifth Symphony, Mahler was extremely influenced by the nuances of Bach, which is probably the most pure composer for, hundreds of years. How do you feel now, because you're doing the Bach piece, you're also going to be playing the Mahler, is that true?
Yeah.
Is there do you feel any relationship or any sense of, you've been studying the Bach and then also the Mahler, is there anything that you've picked up on?
I feel like there are composers, all the composers that we know, Bach, Mozart, that all composers are inspired by. And so, sure, I have no doubt that Bach is a big influence on Mahler, and just like our current composers today are inspired by other composers. So for me, honestly, it's just the Bach is really hard on the flute, and then
it's hard to be a musician. It's hard.
It is. It's hard work.
Yep.
We can do hard things though, and then just me wanting to play the Mahler. Honestly, there's no connection of, oh, I think they go together. It's just like, this is my orchestra and this is my flute section. I want to be part of this big, amazing production of Mahler 5. And I might be exhausted, but I've got an amazing flute section that plays with me in Western Piedmont Symphony, so we're going to pull it off.
I'm sure you will. I'm thrilled to do it. The Mahler is an unusually difficult, challenging, massive, passionate work. So I'm very impressed that you'll be downstage. We can see her downstage at the front, and then you will be part of our woodwind section for a beautiful Mahler Fifth Symphony.
I'm excited.
Yeah. Okay, so this is the fun part. Word on the street is you went to the Grammys recently.
I did. My sister.
Tell us about the Grammys.
my sister-in-law was nominated, Becca Stevens, and her husband Nathan Schramm. She wrote some music, and he arranged it for his string quartet, the Ataka Quartet. So they were nominated, and then his quartet, Ataka Quartet, was also nominated. And Becca was generous enough to invite myself and my husband, and her album was recorded at my husband's studio, Ovation Sound, in Winston-Salem.
Yes.
And he arranged some music on that album as well. So she invited us, and so we were definitely tag-alongs and just enjoying the moment, and lots of fancy people and famous people, and just, I encouraged everyone to listen, not just to watch the Grammys, but go on their website and watch the live streamed premiere ceremony, which has amazing musicians, so many cool categories that we will never have heard of because it's not televised.
And this was the afternoon portion before the primetime portion with all of the other music, a lot of the classical music and the folk and the production and composition.
Yeah.
So,
while I was there, the first time a youth orchestra has won a Grammy.
Yes, the New York Youth Orchestra, amazing.
Band.
Yes,
it was cool.
So, being at the Grammys and being a flute player, did you meet Lizzo?
I didn't meet her, but I saw her.
You got to see her?
This like giant orange dress. You probably saw it on television. And I got to see her perform, and I got to see her accept her award and gush about Beyonce. And we were sitting really far away in the Staples Center, but it was just very surreal. It was very surreal.
And Lizzo being a flute player and a band kid, did she perform on the flute in that concert? I can't remember if she did not.
She did not, but she sounded amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, she sounded really good.
Well, and so Lizzo has a flute, and it's named Sasha.
Yeah.
Do you have a name for your flute?
I don't have a name. I just, so I know, I should. I just upgraded my flute in 2000, and she doesn't have a name yet.
But it's a she. Okay, you heard it here first, people. Laura's flute is a she. So, I'm trying to think about some other things I'd like to ask you. So, is there a lot of musicians kind of have a favorite lick, a favorite riff, whether it's classical or not? Is there something for you as either a performer or as an educator on the instrument? Is there something that is like, this is my jam, and I love to shine with it, or it's something that really is passionate about you?
On solo flute, there's just so much good French repertoire.
French, okay.
I know, and along with that, there's a lot of new music that's being written. One of a composer that I've really enjoyed getting to know is Amanda Harburg, is a new composer, and I'm really loving playing her works. But there's just the French romantic music, you just feel it, and it plays well. Kind of on a similar note, orchestrally, like Ravel's Daphne Symphony. Maybe we could program that sometime.
Okay, yes. Hint, hint.
Also, I love Prokofiev. I love Stravinsky. A very monumental point in my life was when I was at the School of the Arts and we played The Rite of Spring, Stravinsky's Rite of Spring, and it was all this young energy, and it just was wild. It was a very wild experience.
And that's amazing to think of the Stravinsky. This music was written in 1912 when it premiered. It still feels relevant and
for
you know,
dance, for ballet.
well, it's for dance. You know, I'm a dancer, but also that it still feels contemporary, new, modern, and it was, you know, over 100 years
Yeah.
ago, and it's still something magnificent. So it shows the lasting power of some of these compositions.
It was
So-
cutting edge.
Yeah, and it still feels cutting
It still
edge. So,
does.
Rite of Spring, not an easy piece, a beautiful piece to dance and
Yeah.
listen to. So, gosh, Laura, this has been great. It's like brunch with Kelly and me. It's me. It's a delight to catch up with you, and I can't wait to hear you perform
Excited.
the Bach Orchestral Suite number 2 on Saturday, March 11th, 2023. We will be at P.E. Monroe Auditorium at Lenoir-Rhyne University in Hickory. You get to see this young lady, as well as hear our full orchestra perform Mahler's Fifth Symphony. So join us, y'all.
Bye.